Hello, loves. I just wanted to drop in a little bit of advice on law of attraction, manifesting, and making affirmations. I did some a exploratory workshop this weekend with some friends, and some things came up around commitment for me. So this also applies to relationships. Um, when you work on an affirmation, the way it works is it is very easy to unintentionally build the vibration of what you don't want into your affirmation. So when I was looking at the commitment piece, that's a little bit of an edge for me. Commitment often translates into my system like being trapped. So even when I'm all for something, if you put a box around it, that's where I get a little panicky. And so I've learned to work with that, or I'm still learning to work with that. So for instance, if I was working on commitment in my relationship, and my go-to belief is I'm scared of commitment, and I try to create an affirmation to flip that belief, the natural affirmation you might think about was I'm not scared of commitment, or I like commitment, something simple like that. And so here it still carries the energetic charge of scared of commitment, because you have to hold the imprint of what scared of commitment is like in order to attract the opposite. So this is what we want to be careful of, or at least aware of. The other thing is, a lot of times when you do affirmations like that, even if you're saying the thing you want, what hasn't moved is the underlying belief that you don't want it. So here again, you just kind of get stuck in this thing where you're saying a thing that you want to tell yourself you believe, but you don't actually yet. So it actually just attracts more of the thing that you don't want, because that don't want is the underlying charge. So so commitment. So I was playing with that, and one of the exercises was looking at your relationship as most people with romantic relationships have the belief that you have a fixed identity and a flexible commitment, because we all know people change over time, things happen, and we kind of like lock into this thing that, well, if we have to leave room in our commitment, but our personalities will stay the same. And they're playing around with the idea of flipping that around. So that would be having a fixed commitment and a flexible personality. With the commitment in place, then you have a foundation of agreement with the other person, so that you can explore being who you are, and pressing your edges, and trying some things that you have previously been afraid to do, right? Okay, so that brought up all this stuff for me, because I'm like, no. I don't like that idea, because the fixed commitment feels like a box, and of course people change, and I will have trouble agreeing to something that I don't believe is true. So this was the key here, is if the commitment is to loving the other person no matter what that does is bring up the experience of no matter what. The vibration that you're carrying in that affirmation or that vow is that you bring up experiences to prove that I do love this person no matter what. So you're going to bring up the adultery, you're going to bring up the financial crisis, all these things that you probably don't actually want to experience in your relationship. You're attracting to you to prove to yourself that your vow is true. So what was more accessible for me was the commitment to loving my partner in a way that serves us both as individuals and us in a relationship. And that was way more easy for me to metabolize. For one, I feel like I have an identity in that vow, and it's not just like a endless service, even if I'm suffering. And of course, we all realize that at some point it might be in best service to split a relationship up and not just stay together just because we made a promise to do so. And when you have the commitment being more around like the underlying thing that you really want, which is to love this person and be loved, you have permission to play more with how that can be realized in the world. And also for me, that kind of like built in this like paradox or like escape area where it was like, okay, there was no way I was ever going to fully commit or accept a commitment to loving somebody no matter what, but because I know that it might not serve to always be together. But I can love somebody even if we're not together. So anyway, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there to play around with it. Both to play around with maybe some affirmations and looking at what it is that you're wanting and how you might be able to tweak what those affirmations are, and then also a little bit here about the relationship bit, because this is really, to me, finding that little tweak made it very exciting, and made my interest in like finding some sort of commitment greater, because I didn't feel like I was going against something that I knew I was never going to believe. So that's it for now. Share with me what you think. I would love to hear where you're at with commitment and maybe some other ways that you've played with this same topic.